Actually, I have the dough for my breadsticks going in here right now. While it's rising, I'm going to start peeling potatoes and cutting up the kale and getting everything ready to make Zuppa Toscana. Thanks for joining me today on Susan's Cozy Kitchen. This is part 2 of my dinner tonight. I'm going to introduce you to one of my tricks. A lot of cooks on TV have a bowl that they throw everything in. Well, I'm a home cook and I don't like washing bowls that much. So you always have those bags from the grocery store. I just use one of those, peel my potatoes, scrape my carrots, do whatever over the bag, and then I just tie it up, toss it in the garbage. Nothing to wash except the knife. So let's get started with some potatoes. Another trick to keep your potato from turning brown while you are peeling the rest, chopping them up, have a bowl with water in it, drop your potato down in there, and then it stays nice and pretty. Okay, there are all the potatoes. Going to drain this water, refill it, and then start chopping them. We like a lot of potatoes, a lot of kale, and a little bit of Italian sausage in our Zuppa Toscana, so that's the way I'm going to make it today. I'll have all the directions, ingredients, everything in the description box below so that you can go there, take a look, and see what I've done. I'm just chopping the potatoes. I sliced it in half, and then I cut each half in half again, and then I sliced everything just over 1/4 inch thick. So that'll give a nice bite of potato without being too much or too little. And again, I'm just putting this all back into the water to help keep the potatoes nice and white as I'm doing everything else. There are the potatoes covered in water, just hanging out, waiting on everything else to be ready so that they can go into the pot. Now that I have the potatoes, it's time for the kale. And you want your kale small. If you chop it yourself, you want to make sure you remove the stem and then chop into strips. This has already been pre-chopped, so I'm just going to go through, pull out the stems from the ones that have them, and just toss it into the bowl here so that I can give it a rinse and get it ready. And again, all the stems, everything's going into my bag with my potato peelings. Did I mention we like a lot of kale in our Zuppa Toscana? A lot of kale, a lot of potatoes. The original recipe calls for 2 cups packed down of kale. I'm going to fill this bowl full. And then it also called for, I believe, 2 potatoes. I cut up 5. So obviously I'm going to put a little bit more water and a little bit more cream into the soup, and not quite as much of the Italian sausage. We love Italian sausage, we love the flavor. We like it to be a supporting actor in our soup instead of the main character. We like that to go to the vegetables. And one more thing to do, I need to chop some bacon. And you just want some nice little 1/4 inch slices. I'm going to brown Italian sausage in the pan. And when you do this, you have to remove the casing. And it's super simple to remove the casing. You just slit down one side with a knife and just peel it off. You can just buy the ground, but when I bought it originally, I had planned to cook it in the oven and then slice it, but I decided not to when I started cooking, so there you go. Break apart the Italian sausage the same way you would ground beef if you were browning it. Cook until all the pink has gone from the meat. That way you know it's good and done. Now set it aside because it's time to get started with making the soup. The first thing you want to do is add about a tablespoon of vegetable oil to your pot so that your bacon has somewhere to go as you begin cooking it. Now toss in your 2 pieces of bacon that you've cut into about a 1/4 inch strips and cook until done. If you're using real onions, now's the time to add them. Once your bacon is browned, add about a teaspoon of garlic or a clove of garlic if you're doing it yourself. Cook that for about a minute and then add 1 to 2 tablespoons of dried onions if you're using those. Mix everything together, give it a good stir, and then add 2 chicken bouillon cubes. Now that you have your bouillon cubes in there, it's time to add 6 cups of water. Give it another quick stir to combine it. Now that everything is combined, I'm going to drain the potatoes and then very carefully add them to the soup. Stir them in and then cover the pot so that it can come up to a boil. Once it has, I will reduce the heat and let it simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. Now it's time to check the potatoes. If they're done, it's time to continue on with the soup. If not, you want to let it cook a bit longer. My potatoes were done, so now I'm going to add the kale. And then give it a stir in so that the kale can start wilting into the soup. Next, I'm going to stir in the Italian sausage that I browned earlier. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. If you'd like to lower the calories, you can use half and half or even whole milk. Now let's give it a quick taste test to see if we need to adjust the seasonings. And mine needed just a little bit more salt and cracked black pepper. Give it a quick stir, cover, and let simmer again for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. This soup is even better the next day, so don't worry about letting it sit for a while. Once it's finished, it's time to serve. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell. Thank you, and God bless.